everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. I'm here to do another review for you today. The game I'm reviewing is called 27th Passenger, A Hunt on the Rails. And I apologize, you can't really see the name of the game up there. Well, maybe you can. It's kind of red on an orange there. But I don't have a game box to show you because this is a prototype that I was sent. I was really excited to get this game because when I was told about it, it's a deduction game. And I really enjoy deduction games ever since back when I used to play the game Clue with my friends, and the game Mastermind with my sister. We used to play that all the time as well. And I've always kind of dug the whole zeroing in on the correct answer aspect, and having to take gambles and things like that if you thought other people were getting it further ahead of you, and they're going to win the game before you did. The theme of this one is that each person is some sort of secret agent or bad guy or good guy or whatever, but every single person is at odds with one another. And the game's for 3 to 6 people, and the way it works is that you are on a train in 1920s New York. And the train has several stops that it has to go on until it reaches its destination. And in the process of being on that train and getting to the destination, you have to figure out who the other people are that you need to kill, basically, because you are all trying to take each other's lives as the train ride progresses. And you do that by discovering what they are, who they are, as far as so I don't know, if, say, my buddy Craig was the detective, I would know that he was the detective until, you'll notice that if he had this card that says detective, there's those 3 different traits that the detective has, and it says formal, and he's foul. He looks formal, he has a foul scent, and he has a soft voice, and those are the 3 things that designate who that is. And as soon as I figure out that you're the detective and I need to kill you, then you try to assassinate them, because each round you get to take an action, basically. And then so as the people are killed off, they're knocked out of the game, but it is a very quick game to play, so you don't have to worry about player elimination being a problem where people are getting bored. And so, and as the game progresses, certain events happen on the train as well, and so they kind of heighten the tension and things like that. And it's actually, it's a really fun game, And I think one of the cool things that I really liked about it was the fact that it actually has, a deduction sheet. There's 3 of them, actually, on this sheet, obviously. But each person gets that, kind of like the old game Clue. And so as the game progresses, they kind of, they write down the people's names here. And then as they figure out, what their looks are and what their scent is and stuff, they can fill that out, and then they can guess what the identity is. And then up here you have all the different types of people, and so if you can do a little check here, you can see that the reporter has, you can see the reporter, you check, has a foul scent. As far as the looks, you can see that they are formal, and then they have a shrill voice. And so you can kind of just check each little reference, and you can figure out who they are. And I liked filling out the sheet as I was playing the game. It was something I really enjoyed. But regardless, I'm kind of telling you what I think about the game before I actually get to my conclusion. But let me show you how to play the game. It won't take long at all. And it's a very easy game to teach. And then we'll come back here and I'll tell you exactly what I think. Alright, cool. 27th Passenger, Hunt on the Rails. Alright, this is 27th Passenger, A Hunt on the Rails. I'm just going to kind of go over how to play a round of the game and show you how the game is won or lost if you happen to lose the game. Just quickly, just showing you the different things. Each person will get the same deck of action cards, and so you just have these action cards. The ones with these red X on them, they're a one-time use card. After you've used them once, they're no longer valid. The game handles 3 to 6 people, so you have several decks of these. So the different colors, so you can tell whose cards are whose. I'm just not going to worry about showing all of those to you. Also, at the beginning of the game, each person will get an initiative card with a number on it. This is important because if people try to do the same action at the same time, well, not every action, like the assassination action, takes place simultaneously, so you can't, like, be killed before you can assassinate somebody. But anyway, but, like, if there's ever a discrepancy as, like, whose action goes first, you'll check the initiative of their action, so, like, the 1 will go before, like, the 3, for example. And so everybody will get one of these. People will also get skills. They'll get a skill card. You'll notice all of these have this red X, so they're a one-time use type of card. Basically what these do is they just kind of break the rules and allow players like a one-time bonus. So, like, if they have Ingenious, and this isn't going to make a lot of sense to you right this moment, but the target of your investigation must discard a disguised card before you choose a feature to investigate. I'll show you how investigations work. Investigations are basically the way you figure out who the other spies are and what have you. So, but you know, so it basically prevents somebody from using disguise cards. And since I'm talking about disguise cards, I might as well show those to you. You will get these through different actions, like through successful assassination actions, events, things like that. And this will allow you to avoid a certain investigation. You discard them, so like discarding looks, discarding scent, and there should be discarding voice, or discarding disguise, I should say. And so, because people figure out who you are by figuring out your voice, the way you smell, and the looks of your person. And I'm just going to show you this little. Normally this would be cuts. You only get one of these, but this is a sheet of the deduction symbols. And so you play out, you just write down the different players, you know, if you're playing. And then there's only spaces for 5 here because if you play for 6, one of them's you, so you don't really checking yourself out. But you'll slowly figure out, you know, if somebody's looks is formal. Like, you can say, okay, well, I figured out the player 1, they're formal, but I don't know their center voice. And then if you figure out, and you can see up here, so looks, formal. So there's formal, formal, formal. And so then you did it again, and their scent is foul. So now you're like, okay, so formal and foul. So they're banker, reporter, or a detective. And then if you finally find out what their voice is, so say like they have a deep voice, you'd go formal, foul scent, deep voice, because there's the deep and shrill and soft. Okay, so I know that person is the banker. Now I can try to assassinate them. I'm going to assassinate the banker so I can knock that person out of the game. And these are kind of cool little deduction sheets that you'll be using as you play, and you'll just check these things off as you play them. It is also, you'll find out, like, a lot of the passengers, because each one of these is a passenger on the train. And so what you'll be doing is when you find out they're innocent, you'll cross them off. And so there's, like, not only can you, like, through a series of deduction, like, finding the different traits, you can also, like, if you knew that it was formal and it was foul, so you like formal and foul or whatever, if you managed to find out that both the detective and the reporter were both innocent, you cross them off, you wouldn't even have to find out that he had a deep voice, because you know that it was the banker anyway, because of that situation as well. As far as the passengers goes, how you know who each person is, at the beginning of the game, each person will be given a passenger card, and then it'll just tell, so like here's the femme fatale, eccentric, perfumed, and soft. And so each person will get one, you know, the investigator, casual, absent, and deep. You know, and so each one gets one, they put that face down in front of them, so they know who they are, and they can pick that up and look at it at any time. There's no, like secret part of that, you know, because they will refer to it, because if you forget, you can't give somebody incorrect information on their turn when they're investigating you. So you have to, you can check that. And you'll be able to, like, figure that all the rest of the passenger cards then go in a big stack here, and then, well, actually not right there. What'll happen is that they go off to the side, and one of the things you have to do is that, because this is a train that's dropping off people, what happens is that you will take a passenger card, and you don't look at it, but you will take the top one, and depending on the number, if you can see this, like, here, I'll just show you the board real quick. So like the very first stop It's for like this is for 6 players and 5. And I should mention that this is a prototype that I'm working with, so this isn't necessarily indicative of what the game will look like. This is for the 3 or 4 player side, and this is for the 5 and 6. So for the 6 player game, you can see 6 player 1, and so you place that, and that's like a person that's gotten off the train. So we know that one person, the person that just got off the train, we know they are not our target. One of the players is playing the game. And so when we move to the next stop, you can see there's a 2. So when we get there, we take this card, we move it like so, and then we place 2 cards there. And then so when we went to the next stop, we'd have 1. We move these 2 here, and then we have 1 more, like so. And then when we get to the next stop, this card, we reveal that, and we let everybody know who that is. And then they were able to cross off the femme fatale. And then we move these like so. Now the reason why you have this process is because you do have the ability to actually, what was that? 2? Okay. You do have the ability actually to take an action that allows you to look at the cards that are on that spot. You notice, if you can see this, there's like the little eyes with the cross in them like this. You can't figure out what's on here, but you do have, through an actions, that allow you to actually see the passenger there before anybody else. So it's a little added little bonus of what you can do. So what happens is that on the first, on every turn of the game, there's basically 2 rounds, 2 phases of each round. And so the big thing is that you have to process what I just showed you. You know, you have to move the train along the path. You have to move the passengers down and show off the ones that you've revealed, or what have you. And then you will also advance the event cards over here. I just, like in the very first turn, like you turn over event card. Like here's one. It's like chase your tail. Each person draws a disguise card, so each person would get one. And so then the next turn you get the next event, the rat race. Players cannot look at the passenger deck for any reason. So things like that. And so the event deck will go forward. And then the event deck, obviously, you can actually see the color coded green here, then yellow, and then red. And you can kind of guess it becomes more and more, important, or like the consequences and what happens as far as the events go become more and more dire. So let's show you a red one real quick here. So like, under the smoke, in order to perform an assassination, players must discard a skill card or a disguise card. So now the things are heating up, so to speak. And in fact, if you actually get to the end of the game and the train reaches all the way over here, and we haven't found a winner, meaning that like there isn't just one person alive, the very last event on the deck actually is the big call. Each player must perform an assassination action. If after this 2 or more players remain alive, the game is over and nobody wins. And so like you have to go ahead and do an assassination at that point. So I've told you pretty much everything except all the actions. So let me just show you investigations, and also like tail after and pursuit, the one-time use only actions. These and this is the investigation cannot be canceled by a disguise card, tail after. And here you have your investigation cannot be canceled by low profile. And low profile is something that you can do here. Deception. If you use a deception action, you can go low profile or disguise. So those people can use that to discover you anyway. But so like with an investigation, what you'll do is you'll take this features deck and you'll look through here, and you will pick cards from here that say like looks formal. Okay, I'm gonna take, you take 1 looks, and you take a voice, and you take a scent, and then you pick a person. So I'm gonna say I want casual, deep voice, and foul scent, and you hand that to the person. They will look at that and they will cross-reference it with their card, which has their vital statistics, so to speak. And if any of them match, or 1 or more, they can pick one. So if like all 3 of them match, they don't have to show all 3. But like if like say all 3 of them match, they just pick one. They can say, okay, well, I'll give you voice deep, and they hand you that, and then that's how you are able to start narrowing things down on the board over here. pretty simple, but you know it's you know, it's one of those things where you just slowly, you know, working your way through the different options and the things, and as the person who's being discovered, you can kind of like start hedging your bets, and like, as if you know certain passengers that haven't been revealed or whatever, you can see how like people might be zeroing in, and so you have to look at which one you're going to show, you know, when it comes your turn. And like sometimes like you will you know, want to know just like certain things, like you want to know if you're right about say like, you know, their looks, if you will. And so like you'll give them bogus things that you know they can't be, and you want to like maybe zero in that way. Just like if you ever played any deduction games, you'll know what I'm talking about as far as that's concerned. So that's the investigation actions, and as you can tell, because they have the 1 on there, those happen first. Now the next one is the assassination, and with the assassination, you just name one passenger and you kill them. There isn't like rolling a dice or anything like that. If you actually kill another player, you can see you get a reward of drawing a disguise card, and so then you just get one to have in your hand. You can have up to 2 disguise cards in your hand at any time. If you're wrong and you kill an innocent person, you are arrested and presumably thrown from the train or something, and you are out of the game. So you got to make sure, if you're going to assassinate somebody, you got to make sure that you're picking the right person. Okay, with scheming, this is pretty cool actually. Scheming is observation and intimidation. What scheming does is that thing that I said that allows you to look at the passengers that are in this. So like in the situation where there's 2 there, you could scheme, and what you can do then is you take it and you look, and you can say, okay, so it's the dancer and the nun. Okay, I know the dancer and the nun aren't going to be one of my opponents, so I can cross them off my list, and that's information for me and me alone. I can keep that. That is the observation part of the situation. Now, with intimidation, you get to pick what you can do to the passenger that you just observed, if you will. The second part I'm referring to is the intimidation part. With the intimidation, what you do is you take, and notice that you do get to do both of these. You get to do observation and intimidation. You get to take the top card from the deck. You get to look at it and see what it is. And then after that, you get to decide if you want to leave them on top of the deck, so they're one of the first, they're going to be getting off really soon. Or you can choose to, like, you've intimidated them, and you get to put them on the bottom of the deck, like so. So you know that that person's innocent, but you know you're kind of shunting them to the back, and that you can keep that information to yourself. Now, for a while, I didn't really understand like why I wouldn't ever do that. I would, you know, like, why wouldn't I keep that information to me and to me alone? But the thing is that by doing that, you're allowing somebody else to do the same action and figure out something that you don't know. And so maybe it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, like shared information, if you will. So like if you leave it on there, like, and somebody else has an observation, they're going an intimidation, they're going to look. It's keeping the information still available to you, you know, because of the fact that they're going to look at the exact same thing you do. And plus, if you look at the sheet, and like say the person that is there doesn't match up with you at all, you know, as far as that's concerned, you know, it's like by leaving them in there and allowing them to be discovered, that isn't as much of a bonus, I guess, to your opponents to figure out who you are, because of the fact that it's not shortening the list, so to speak, as far as the people that are needed. So, I mean, it took me a while to figure that out, but then I realized it actually is a really good option, if it works out for you, to leave the passenger on top of that, instead of intimidating them and keeping them on the train. The final action is the one that is here, deception. And deception, because it's the last, like, you won't reveal it until somebody actually says, I'm going to investigate you. And when they do, you can then turn this over and you can say, okay, I went low profile, and you weren't able to find me. Unless, of course, they used one of the investigations that allows them to break through that. Now, the cool thing about that is that if you're investigated, you can then discard a disguise card if you have one, and you can immediately investigate the person that chose to investigate you. And so you can kind of turn about a little bit of a fair play kind of situation. If you aren't investigated by anybody and you get to the end and you reveal this card, you do the disguise action, which allows you to draw 2 disguises and then discard 1. And so you keep one of the 2 that you drew. And so after all those actions are taking place and everybody has done what they're going to do, you go back and, like I said, you move the train along the path, you process everything, you move the passengers, so you reveal, like as before, you reveal the passengers so then they can cross them off. They go forward like that. Actually, I think we were right there, so then that's 3 passengers that you place in that location, and you go on to the next turn. The play continues, as I said, until either you're the last person left alive or you get to the end, and that's the last event. You do set up the event deck, so the finale is the last event card, and then you do that situation at the end, as I showed you, that everybody has to do an assassination, and then either you assassinate an innocent, usually you end up assassinating either an innocent or like one of the other players, and you get down to 1 player. And then, of course, you can have a game where nobody wins when you have more than 1 person alive at the end of the game. But that's pretty much how you play an entire game of 27th Passenger. It doesn't take a long time to play, even with 6 people, because, like I said, the actions are pretty much simultaneous and what have you. The one little clincher is that, obviously you have the initiatives. Like I said, with assassinations, if you have more than 1 person doing an assassination, you at that point there are simultaneous, and because of the fact that you can't to make it fair, or people are encouraged then to write down who they're going to assassinate, which of the passengers, just so you don't have any kind of weird retaliation situation, or you don't have a person say, "Oh, I'm gonna assassinate the reporter," and the other person says, "Well, I'm going to assassinate the reporter, so I'll assassinate the detective instead." And so, if more than 1 person assassinates the reporter, and that person turns out to be innocent, then they're both knocked out of the game. And if both assassinate the right person, then they both actually do get a situation where they get the reward as well. They get the disguise card. And I have had a game where people actually assassinated each other in the exact same round, which actually, if you think about it, is kind of an interesting little about face, because I think the person, it was the nun and the banker, and so basically there was a shootout or something in between the cars between those 2 people, and it was kind of a funny situation. But anyway, more about what I think about the game and how much fun it is with my conclusion right now. Cool. Well, now you know how to play the game, hopefully. I hopefully taught you well. Okay, so as I said, the game isn't difficult. It has everything that I want as far as the whole deduction game aspect of it. I do there are some cool little things that I like about it. I do like the whole initiative process that the game has, as far as certain actions occur before others, so you kind of have to take that into effect when you're actually doing your actions. I do like the fact that there is a I was worried a little bit about the fact that you could just, okay, well, I'm pretty sure you're the nurse, so I'm going to kill the nurse, and it's oh, I was wrong. Oh, well, I'm out of the game. So you can't, it's you can gamble every once in a while. You can kind of say, well, I'm about 50-50 shot, I think who you are. And then I do like the fact that you can take that stab in the relative dark and take a shot if you feel somebody else has pretty much figured out who you are. It's one of those games also where we had to take a very strict no table talk aspect of the game, just because it was one of those things where you could kind of give away somebody else's identity to somebody else, that maybe they would take the action and take that person out. So we had to take kind of a very strict aspect as far as that's concerned, and that's fine. But it was one of those games where everybody was, there was a lot of this where it's all right, I'm gonna check your scent, okay, and then they hand you the card, and you're and so it's a lot of body language and a lot of sinister looks and stuff like that, and you can get people to start believing that you're this close to figuring out who they are, and putting that little edge of uncertainty into them. And so It has a cool little, like, you know, the game beyond the game. I talk about that in some of my reviews. It's like, the game is just a set of rules, right? But then there's always those extra things that you yourself and the other players bring to the table that make the game into more than what it is. I mean, ultimately, the game is mechanically sound. It presents a really cool theme. I do like the whole idea of, you know, crime noir. I think it's a theme that is not visited enough in games, honestly. I do, and this is one of those things that I knew I was going to like. There was just absolutely no chance I wasn't going to enjoy it, as long as the rules made sense and as long as the rules didn't get in the way of the game from having fun, and they do not. It's a lot of fun. It's one of those things where it's so wonderful when you're playing a game that, like, you start to actually get emotionally involved in it. And I'm not talking about, like, it's like, you know, it's like, flip the table, I lost. I'm talking about, like, when people are, like, targeting you, and you actually get that weird creeping feeling of, like, oh gosh, you know, like, and I like that. I like the fact that I actually have a like, both emotional and, like, weirdly physical response to the way people, and, like, when you see somebody saying they're going to put down the assassinate, and you're just sitting there, it's like, oh, don't pick me, you know, and as they're picking their person, it's such a wonderful moment as far as that game is concerned, and so you know, it revisits this wonderful deduction process that we've seen in many other games, but it presents it in a fun new way with some cool, funky little mechanics and just a bunch of stuff that I really enjoyed a great deal. So there you go. That is 27th Passenger, A Hunt on the Rails. Go ahead and check out the Kickstarter, and you can read about it more with the link provided below. If you have any questions about the game, please post those. I'll be happy to help you out with those as much as I can. And I'm sure that the designer of the game will be more than happy to answer them as well. So, as always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I greatly appreciate that. As I readily know, all time is finite, and so we just, you know, whenever you choose to actually spend some of your precious time with me, I greatly appreciate that. So, in the meantime, until the next video comes out, you have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, goodbye now.